Hey friends,
My name is Hussain Kagdi and today I bring to you the story of the ultimate Norse legend Ragnar Lothbrok. Consider him to be a quintessential Norse warrior, a fearsome raider, a merciless foe, an ale-swilling pagan who laughed in the face of death. Many, if not all of Ragnar's adventures are mythical, the product of Norse chroniclers' vivid imaginations. But that didn't stop them casting a long shadow over the northern Europe during the Viking Age, courtesy of everything from the epic medieval poems and stories. By these three wives, Ragnar had at least 8 sons: Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside, Sigurd Snake-in-the-Eye and Ubbe among their number. These offsprings were just as warlike as Ragnar, and courtesy of their own escapades ensured that their father's name lived on long after he met his death. The story begins with the death of our mighty hero. Yeah, it's a buzzkill, but that death, when it came to Ragnar, was every bit as dramatic as the life that preceded it. Ragnar, in the beginning of his raiding days, attacks Northumbria, ruled by King Ale, a Christian king of the Christian capital of the Great Britain. Ale's hatred towards Ragnar begins at their first encounter. Ragnar defeats his men twice and loots his kingdom. Then Ragnar demands 2,000 pounds not to attack Ale's kingdom and to release Ale's brother that was captured in the battle before. Ale springs a trap to defeat Ragnar and his troops, but they repel the attacks and again give Ale on the face. The king then has to pay the ransom but swears to avenge of Ragnar and to declare him a war, no mercy. While on a campaign in northern England 2 decades later, Ragnar, we're told, was captured by Ale. Ale was hell-bent on putting his Viking foe to death, but found that no ordinary weapon could kill him. So he had Ragnar thrown into a snake pit, but not even his grisly fate was enough to deflate the irrepressible Ragnar. With death approaching, the Viking warrior recalled with pleasure his greatest victories and savored with the prospect of feasting in Valhalla, the great hall for the slain Viking warriors. More ominously for Ale, he vowed to exact revenge. He foretold the arrival of the great heathen army with his famous quote, "How the little piglets would grunt if they knew how the old boar suffers," a promise that was followed through by his sons. Bjorn Ironside, the eldest son of Ragnar, when knew that his father was slain in such a manner, along with his brothers Ivar and Ubbe, gathered a small kingdom and summoned all earls of Denmark and asked for a revenge for their great hero and for their great king. He gathered an army of 3,000 Viking warriors and 60 ships left to avenge the death of his father. This army was called the Great Heathen Army, as army this big was never seen by the Saxon soil of the Great Britain. When King Ale was given the news of arrival of such a great army, he was scared and prayed to God to help his army succeed this war. He summoned his allies, but none wanted to make the Vikings their enemy. Viking under Ragnar always fought straight forward, no war tactics were employed. King Ale, who knew this, was forging a technique to send a small army of swords down the lower ground and a major part above it. By this, they would put the Vikings fall into a trap, and then King Ale would win the war against the great heathen army. Ivar the Boneless, a legless son of Ragnar but also the smartest, suggested that instead of following the tradition, why not scout the place of battle beforehand? After knowing the battlefield, he knew that it had an elevation that the enemy could take in advantage of. They thought of just sending a few of the warriors on the lower ground and the rest would surround the battlefield from above. This gave an advantage to the Viking army, and then they succeeded with very little damage. The sons of Ragnar caught Ayla alive and thought of giving him a death as brutal as it was for their beloved father. They employed a method called the Blood Eagle, in which they cut the back of their enemy with an axe and take out his heart, making a shape of an eagle. Throughout the process, Ayla was alive and died after his heart was plucked out of his body. Our Ragnar is part from the Ragnar of the Chronicles, part the saga hero, but most of all, he's the embodiment of the extraordinary effect that the arrival of Viking raiders had on the 9th century European mind, and also how his death united the whole Viking kingdom. Thank you all for hearing out my story. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed narrating it.